So I guess it's 7:05, so we will start the session. A very warm welcome to all the doctors for taking time to join this session today. I hope the audio is clear. Can you all hear me? Thank you. You can give a thumbs up if the audio is clear. Thank you. Okay. So as I said, so thank you again, a very warm welcome. So what GoCamp, before we start the session, what GoCampus does, now we help medical graduates with options to do post-graduation in India, United Kingdom, and United States of America. Over the past 7 years, we've helped thousands of doctors to get into the right medical colleges or right medical pathway. We've partnered with a couple of finest institutions, whether it's UK or US, to make sure your journey is smooth and safe. For India, we assist for the NEET PG counseling process, where we suggest you in terms of option entries, applications, registers, which are the best colleges, and department wise, which college is doing good. We connect you with the ex students of the particular college to understand more about the department. That's when it comes to India. When it comes to UK, we support you with PLAB pathway, the MRCP IMT, MRCP plus MBA, and FRChem plus MBA pathways by BAPIO, that is British Association Physicians of Indian Origin. We are the exclusive partners in India to promote BAPIO programs. And when we come across a lot of doctors, when we talk to them in regard to India as well as United Kingdom, we came across a lot of students who were looking for support for USMLE. There were doctors who said, apart from coaching, I need assistance in bettering my residency application. I need assistance in United States clinical experience, and hence, like how we have the same pathway for UK, an integrated plan, a launch of USMLE services began. So for the US pathway, we assist with the four most important pillars, that is USMLE coaching, clinical research education program, United States clinical experience, and the residency match support services, which we are going to discuss in detail as we go on with the webinar. Okay, so we have today Dr. Urvish Patel with us, who will be joining us in some time. Okay, he's here. Hello, doctor. So Dr. Urvish Patel is MD Neurology and Masters of Public Health in Biostatistics. He's got interests in neuro, internal medicine, biostats. You can see it on your screens. He is the Chief Education Officer of Research Update Organization. It is a non-profit education organization founded to promote clinical research and its application. I guess Doctor will speak more and brief more about this organization once he comes in to brief you all about the importance of clinical research education at this point of time to make sure your residency application is at its best. So in today's webinar, these are the topics that we're going to cover very briefly. We will talk about the USMLE pathway. We will talk about the recent changes in USMLE policies in USMLE, and we'll talk about USMLE pass percentage. We will talk about the importance of clinical research education, when and how to start your preparation, that is your STEPS coaching. We will also talk about importance of clinical research education program. We will talk about importance of LORs and how GoCampus can help you throughout your journey, starting from your coaching till you get into your residency in USA. So the key takeaways, this session should or will help you if USMLE, to understand if USMLE is the right pathway for you. If you firmly decided that yes, USMLE is my calling, now that's where you're more keen on, we will help you to make your profile, that is to make your application stand out from the rest of the applicants. Now, before we start the session, before we go ahead with the USMLE pathway, we are putting across few poll questions. I request all the doctors to read the poll question and to click on the right option. Ijaz, can we please have the first poll question? Now, please help me to understand you better so that we know that we're addressing you in a right way. I basically want to know how many of you have already decided to take up the USA or US pathway. Are you sure that you are going to go ahead with your US pathway? Then you can click on I've decided. If you're not sure, you can see the options. Please click on the option that is so we have 50% of the audience who've decided yes, it is residency in US. Very nice. So we have 22% of doctors or students who are attending this session who are unsure or unclear of taking up this pathway. And we have 28% of doctors who are saying they're just exploring the US pathway. Great. Thank you so much for giving your opinion. Now we have a next poll question coming up. What other pathways are you currently exploring? Now, suppose if you say you haven't decided about going ahead with USA, then there should be something else as a backup option or something as your primary option. Is it India? You're going to work for NEET PG? Or is it going to be United Kingdom that you're working on PLAB or other multiple pathways, or any other country? What is the pathway that you're currently exploring? Please click on the option that's more closest to you. Oh, very nice. So basically we have, it's 50-50 here. We have 50% of audience who are looking for India, and we have next 50% looking for United Kingdom. Very nice. We have 7% of audience who are looking for others. So others, in the way, I think mostly you'll be exploring, I guess, Australia or Canada. That I guess we can discuss about it later. But very nice that we have UK and India more. As I said, Go Campus assists you for all, whether it's US, UK, and India. Now, this is just to understand the kind of audience we are talking to. Request you to please choose the right option. It just can we have the next poll question. I just want to know, what is the status of your MBBS? Are you currently in your second, third, fourth year of your medical school? Are you currently pursuing your internship, or have you completed your MBBS with internship? All right, that's nice. So we have 47% of audience who've completed MBBS with internship. We have 18% of audience who are currently pursuing internship, and we have 35% of audience who are currently in their third, fourth year of med school. Great. So thank you so much for giving your vote for the questions that I asked. So without wasting much of your time or without bugging you more, we are starting off with the USMLE process. Can you all see my screen? Okay. So overview of the USMLE pathway. Now I'm sure most of them who already decided that yes, it is USMLE for me. You all know the first step is yes, we have to register, then complete, then prepare for the step 1 exam, then prepare for step 2. Now instead of CS, you have OET exam, so you have to focus on that, and then give your step 3. Now, United States medical licensing examination, as I just said, is a three-step examination for medical licensure in US. Now, step one, step two, CKCS, and step three. Although step one and step two can be taken in any order, but most of the students do write step one and then move to step two. Now, of course, even step three can be given after you start your residency. But what we understand from all the doctors whom we've spoken till now, they say to make your residency application more stronger, it's good to give step three before you actually match to your residency. Okay, so now most of the doctors, while my team members were talking to you, most of the doctors had concerns on what are the changes and how is it going to affect the IMGs. Now, the recent changes are USMLE Step 1 has become pass-fail system. This will be implemented from Jan 2022. Now, the new policy has reduced the total number of attempts from 6 to 4 for each step. Instead of CS, that is clinical skills exam, now you have OET, that is occupational English test language training. Now, this may be a temporary arrangement, but as of now, it is OET instead of CS. Now, many doctors were asking, is this a plus for an IMG or is this a negative factor for an IMG? The USMLE going on pass-fail system. Now, the rationale behind this change is to reduce the anxiety and burnout because of the immense pressure to excel in the exam, that is to score great in the exam. To maintain a balance between student learning and well-being, because applicants were neglecting their medical school coursework, the change was done where it has become pass-fail system now, similar like how even UK works. Even in UK, the PLAB is pass and fail. Score really doesn't matter. So the pressure is less. You only focus on doing good in the exam. You're not chasing to score the highest. So the pressure, the anxiety, the burnout is a little less. And we come across so many doctors. We get a mixed audience because we assist for India, UK, and now with US. We get a lot of doctors who are doing multiple pathways, who are trying for India and US or trying for UK and US. So they all say if it's USMLE, you have to lock yourself, focus only on studies, studies, studies. But PLAB is not like that. They generally work, they build their clinical skills and then give exam. Because the scoring high, that pressure is not there. Maybe so the rationale behind the change is to reduce your anxiety and you can balance well both your academic as well as your MCQ part. Now, the concerns for IMG applicants. Now, before we put across this, we did speak to many doctors who already passed step one and who are preparing for step one now, and who already got into, a couple of them already got into residency also, to understand what they feel about this new change. So, what they say is, IMGs often strive to get high step one scores to make their application stand out. But now it's merely pass or fail. So, and we also know residency programs in US put a heavy emphasis on LORs, your school performance, and your clinical research experience. Understanding most of the students in India are not exposed to the clinical research experience part of it, they find it a little tough now to compete with the US homegrown doctors. So earlier, IMGs were really studying hard and making the scores highest to stand out. Now, because that is not there, of course, step two will take a priority. But along with that, you have to do something which will make you stand out. Apart from your regular exam preparation and doing your United States clinical experience where you work for 4 to 6 months and go and get LORs, that is common, which everyone will do. But what else you will do along with that to increase the value of your application matters. So that's where your research experience will come in. So as I just said, so IMGs now need to focus more on building a comprehensive portfolio rather than just focusing on test scores. So we just discussed about how GoCampus can help you. Now, these are the main pillars when it comes to the entire USMLE pathway. That is USMLE coaching, your clinical research education, your clinical experience, and the residency support and the other value add services. So you're really not breaking your head on your visa applications, your documentation, your exam registrations, your test bookings and all that. So that's all comes in value add services. So now a small segment on importance of USMLE coaching. Now we provide personalized one-on-one live online coaching to doctors now at your convenient pre-scheduled time. When my team members were talking to all the doctors who had registered for the webinar, most of them were asking, no, I'm currently in internship, I will be exhausted. Is the time fixed? Or can I take it up? Or can I fix my time? We understand you all are busy. So generally the scheduling will happen as per your convenient time, but of course it is scheduled time. Now, many doctors also ask, clearing in the first attempt, is it important or how will it make a difference? Now, because this question was asked by many doctors, we did ask a couple of our doctors in US. So they said, yes, clearing in the first attempt will make you much more attractive when you sit for the interview. So you should focus well and make sure that you're nailing it in the first attempt. Now, also, when you pass the exams in your first attempt, you save time, effort, and money. You don't have to re-repeat things. A structured coaching program keeps you on track and helps you to stay accountable. You will have our trainers talking to you every week, planning your schedule, asking you, have you done this? Have you not done that? What should you do to pick up your the areas where you're falling weak? So this kind of mentorship you definitely require when you're preparing for such high level exams. Now, many doctors do ask for step one, what is the kind of preparation time we require? So, generally, depends on how much time you're able to dedicate for the studies. Approximately, it's around 5 to 9 months of preparation should be good enough for your step one exam. Now, as I just said, what matters is dedication and determination to make it happen. So if you have the dedication and if you're very determined that yes, I have to clear my USMLE step one before my internship or in third year, fourth year, then you will have to dedicate a bit more time and then make it happen. Now there are many doctors who clear MBBS and who clear internship. So many doctors were asking us, don't you think we are a little too late? Because I understand that for USMLE, generally students start preparing from third year of their medical school. I mean, if you are determined and if you're dedicated and this is what you want to do, nothing is ever late. Instead of missing the opportunity, do not waste time, kickstart immediately and start your preparation. And anyways, fortunately, it's going to be pass or fail. So you don't have to really struggle hard to get the highest score. That issue is not there now. So basically, all our trainers are US and Canada based doctors who've gone through who've gone through the USMLE steps like how you will go through now. All our doctors have got 250 plus during their exams. So they have, now they're experienced and they have same journey like how you're going to have now. So definitely you will benefit from our coaching program. So now doctors who are interested in knowing more about the coaching program, we will be starting our preparatory course for 1 month starting from March 28th. You can certainly reach out to us. There'll be a small form which will be displayed during the end of this webinar. Request you to fill up the form. GoCampus counselors will reach out to you to give you more details on the coaching section, whether it is one-on-one or whether it is a preparatory batch which is going to kickstart from March 28th. So we will be providing you personalized consulting. That is your timeline planning based on number of hours you dedicate, advice on choosing the right specialty. Is the specialty possible, not possible? To make it possible, what you have to do. total costing that is required, and expected miscellaneous expenses that you may come across, so you well plan your USMLE journey. This is OET coaching. Now, we do have our in-house OET training, because for PLAB, OET is must. For USMLE till now, English language was not must, but for UK, that is for PLAB pathway, either having IELTS or OET is must. And these days, a lot of doctors are moving towards OET, because it is medical language proficiency test. You'll be able to connect with the topics faster compared to IELTS. And many doctors were asking, is OET tough? It's really not that tough. It is, yes, in IELTS most of the doctors lose in writing, they end up getting 6.5 and all that. But OET is more about your English, what you speak day to day in your healthcare system. So if you focus and plan well, and do more of your mocks, your sessions, your practice tests, you will definitely nail it. So we have personalized one-on-one coaching sessions for OET as well. Now, this is for all your application and registration headache, your visa, your paperwork, your application support in finalizing your rank order, other paperwork that you would have. We take care of all that. This is the coaching segment which I just discussed. So this is about clinical research education program, which will be addressed in next 2 to 3 minutes. We are going to talk in detail about this segment. This is, I guess, most of the doctors are aware about this. Whoever have decided to get into the USMLE or US pathway, most of you all know you need 4 LORs, for which you have to do your 4 to 6 months of externship or electives or observership, whatever we term it, either hands-on or now there are both hands-on as well as telemedicine formats. So you require minimum 4 LORs, for which you earlier doctors were going to US doing hands-on experience over there to get the letter of recommendation. Now, due to COVID situation, even telemedicine formats are allowed. This is about the rest. I guess this is the last step. I think the audience that we have for today, I don't think we have anyone who already passed step 1. So because all of you are still in the beginning stages, I think this is one of the last stage. So I think we can discuss about this in detail a little later. So many doctors were asking, suppose if you're going to US for 4 months, 5 months, what about housing? We do support you with housing. And you will definitely get continuous mentorship from the time you start till the time you match. You will also have a study partner support. You don't have to worry, I'm alone, I'm not able to focus, a lot of distractions. We will definitely try to get study partner as per your requirements. Suppose if you're in 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, we'll try to match you somebody who's at the same level, so you'll be able to discuss and do well. So now I request Dr. Urvish Patel to come in and to address doctors on what is the importance of clinical research education program and why it should be started now, so that they improve the chances of their application, they make themselves better. Thank you, doctor. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for taking time to brief the students today on importance of clinical research education program. Doctors, do not miss this opportunity. You wouldn't get a chance again to talk to him live like this. Whatever questions you have in regard to your research experience, the work and all that, please note it down. He will open up Q&A after he's done with the session. Please be prepared with the questions. Thank you so much. Welcome, Dr. Urvish.
Thank you, Ashwini. Hello, everyone. Good evening. And I appreciate the opportunity and platform that Go Campus has given it to us. And let me tell you a little bit about our work and our organization. I'm just going to share the screen with you. So, okay, yes. So Mr. Ashwini has told you that for the USMLE journey, the pathway, three things are most important. Number one, USMLE scores. And now there are not many scores. There are like only step 2 CK score and step 3 score. Step 3 score comes very later in the journey. So only step 2 CK score is the one thing which can put you in a higher or lower position with the terms of number of attempts. So number one thing is the score. Number two, I feel visa requirement. Many of you, or I can say 90% of you, would be requiring J or H visa. So for international medical graduate who born outside the United States or who's not having green card or citizen, for them, everyone is in the same location or same condition when you are competing with many students. So that is a factor number two, very important factor. And the factor number three is the connection or the network. Now, when we talk about connection and network, that doesn't mean that I know someone in the program and that's why I'm going to get into the residency. Connection and the program means kind of networking where you share your skills and you can impress someone, either impress someone by spending time with them and showing your clinical skill or your research skill or some other skill which is important for program, or which is important that you are going to bring it to the program, right? So the three important things which according to us very, very, very crucial. So USMLE scores, USMLE education and everything, Go Campus is going to guide everything about that. Today, I'm not going to talk on that section. Visa is something which we cannot alter right now. So we are going to talk about the third aspect, which is networking or contacts. And most important aspect when we talk about networking and contact, then the research is something is coming along since very long time. So let me a little bit introduce about myself. My name is Urvish Patel, and I work in Department of Public Health and Neurology in Icahn School of Medicine, Mount Sinai. And besides that, I and with my team run the organization called Research Update. And Research Update is educational organization to promote. We basically founded in 2019, February 2019. And before that, we used to do the same work, but without structural things. We are doing this thing with the location of New Jersey, USA. And our main fundamental, one second. Yeah. So the main fundamental principle is clinical research education, number one, training, number two, consultation and support, which is not your domain. Usually the residents, fellow and faculty members are getting advantage out of it. And the third one is utilization of this research to promote the evidence-based public health practices. So those are the main work which we are doing it. Now, why clinical research is very important for medical student and international medical graduates, and what is the ideal time you should do it? Two things we are going to talk about. So as Ms. Ashwini told you that USMLE are total divided into three exams. Step one, which is from 2022 onwards, pass and fail. CK exam, which is scoring based exam. CS is currently replaced with OET and it's not going to happen. We don't know until what timing. And step three. Now, that is the one aspect. Now, can you judge someone's performance from step scores? Answer is yes, completely. Indian medical graduates are very good in taking step one and CK exam, and they score very high, and they can easily match into any internal medicine, neurology, psychiatry, pathology programs, because their average score is like almost about 230s, and they're having enough time, good atmosphere at home, they read properly, they get enough good food, and then they are having very controlled environment. So step one and CK, for according to us, what I believe, that definitely it increases the burnout, but it is the best way to judge someone. And especially when I talk about Indian and Asian medical graduate, their scores are always high. So now not having step one score is one of the kind of downside, or kind of, I can say, even plus, because it's reducing the burnout thing and reducing the duration of 9-10 months of study. So but it is not there, so judgment through that is very difficult. Even for American, step one score is not there, so American medical graduates are taking CK usually after applying for residency in September. So what they are going to have it, no step one score, probably OET exam, or maybe they don't require OET later on. We don't know that. And CK, they might be taking it in hurry to finish it before September, or they might be taking afterward in third year. But they are also doing two important things: rotations and clinical research. Those are the two most important aspects that they are going to look into American medical graduates. Okay, so that point of view, clinical research becomes super important. Even though before this step one thing is also, it was very important. Since 2011, 2012, since I know the thing, people are doing tremendous amount of research work in different settings, keeping COVID and research two things in mind. It's a little bit difficult, and that's why we are trying to do our best to provide clinical research experience by sitting at wherever you are located, rather than coming to United States if not needed, right? The second thing is US clinical experience and letter of recommendation. Now, USMLE score you can't change. Clinical experience, as Ms. Ashwini told you, it's having limitation, restriction, that you have to travel, visa and travel in restriction, as well as having maximum 4 to 6 months of feasibility to get 4 LOR. Then after that, it will be costly for you. Even though you are traveling, it will be costly for the living expense point of view, and for the point of view of that, even though you are going more than a 6 month, 8 month, a year, or 2 year, you are going to get same for LOR. You cannot upload more than 4 LOR, right? So that is something is not going to get much help after you reach to certain option. Then what are the option? Once you reach to that level, then only two options are there to improve the profile. To improve the profile, number one, either you can do the long-term research fellowship, which is 6 months to 1 year, and spending a lot of time missing the application year, make yourself your old international medical graduate. Or number two, many of us did it, masters of public health or masters of science clinical research, but that is a huge problem. The money involvement, if you are having enough resources, monetary resources is good. It takes approximately 2 year and 50,000 US dollar minimum. So that is also extremely cost, I can say, the limited with the cost point of view. And the second option is that you can learn research education when you are in medical school, or whenever you are getting chance. Make sure how to do the publication process by yourself, and then you present your work in conferences, and there you can make the network. So most important thing is what? Clinical research, yes, it is important, but most important thing is the contact making and network, so they can recommend you. They can give recommendation. Number one, they can tell to the program by email that this is my person, this is my candidate. By going to the conferences, meeting to the people, you can ask more interviews, or you can tell them to rank you higher. We'll talk about what are the different benefits, but usually the research update is helping for research education, hands-on activity, hands-on project, publication, membership. You are going in virtual conferences or in-person conferences. Our student has presented many time in different conferences, every different year, depend on the specialty, and then they meet, they literally sell their profile, or they, I can say, they advertise their profile and get interviews, or make sure they try to convince program directors or assistant professors or chairman, fellows, to help them to enter into the program. And that's not only me who's telling you. This is the one of our advertisement from American Neurology Association. It says that conference is the best place for networking and the job searching, because here you are going to have all types of people together on one platform, beginning from a very basic student and collaborators, from that type to clinical physicians, from there to the department heads and department chairs. So the conferences will be most important, whether you are attending virtually, whether you are attending in person, but the contact and network, that is the keyword. The third domain I can say for USMLE point of view. Now, why research is this much of important? Even before 2021, next year of application season, once there will be no step one, after that it will be more crucial. But this is the data from NRMP July 2020. So this data is of 2019 match applicant. You can see in internal medicine, pathology, psychiatry, here you can see the comparison. Everywhere you will be requiring approximately the research, anything between 2 to 7 publication. If you are going towards dedicated branches like neurology, like pediatric, like psychiatry, like pathology, the number is like extremely high, 10, right? 5. Internal medicine is not that much, but still people are now doing because of having less opportunities if they are having low score, but otherwise the number is 5. So you can see that even the previous logistic was even high. So these are not the publication manuscript. This covers everything: conference presentation, if it is peer review conference, publication, oral presentation, poster presentations, everything. But each project count, each project count. So that is the most important aspect when we talk about the research. Now, let's say you give your exam, you have a good score. Initially, if someone is having 230 plus, then they are targeting in university residency program by doing research. And then if they are having lesser score like attempts and stuff, still they are doing clinical research to enter into the community program. So now I'm going to little bit give you a brief idea why research is important either of the core program. A very big myth is there: if you want to go for university program, then research is important. For community program, they don't care. That is wrong. Community program in fact care more about clinical research, which we are teaching or you people will be doing. Why? Because community program is not having much resources. So if you are having research skill, if you are bringing it on board, then they will be doing research with help of you at lower expense. University programs are having high end research structure. They are having their own epidemiologists, biostatisticians, grants. They are having funding in $1 million. So they don't much care about whether you learn SPSS software, SAS software, you have hypothesis knowledge, these, that. Because university program, most of the doctors who is having associate professor or above level of experience, they're having minimum MPH degree, a PhD degree, DRPS degree, in addition to MDs. So community program, according to me, is emphasizing more if you have all this skill by yourself. So this is the little bit gray area between university and community program. So the research which we are promoting is the research that you can do it by yourself. We are going to talk quickly about that. But basically, if the community program is having academic level of faculty where you can share your interest and skill with them, then they are having this resident professional development funds for your growth. So if you know how to do research, you can utilize these funds. We are having every single batch of 10 students, we are having 3 to 4 residents and fellows with the international medical graduate para, because they are getting funds from hospital, and you require research education experience. So all of them work together in harmony in order to complete one project. So in community hospital, that is the one key point. Second thing is that whether you are in community hospital or university hospital, you require one project by ACGME to graduate. In order to complete your residency nowadays in US, in exactly same like India, in US also you require one project to complete, and mainly those projects are quality improvement projects. And we teach you how to perform QI project so that you are ready for your residency second year onwards, when you are going for this graduation thing. So third thing, if you want to impress community program, that the most common question they're asking, what will you bring to the program? The most common question, that this is the research skill that you can bring to the program, and that will impress anyone in the program. The if community program you are ending up, that means either they will have fellowship, in-house fellowship, and they will only take one or two people from their cohort of resident to do fellowship. So let's say there are 40 residents, and only one will be ending in cardiology, one in GI, one is pulmonary critical care, one in hemato-oncology. So these are the major four domain of fellowship where everyone wants to do that. It's only one or two positions, and there will be a huge number of people in competition. Then research, this your research will help you to differentiate from your own colleague too, right? So that will be very important when you are applying for this main four subspecialties: GI, cardio, pulm, critical care, and hemato-oncology. Now let's see, if you don't have fellowship program in your community hospital and you are going for residency hospital community program, that means you are going for fellowship open match. That means you need to prepare yourself from a second year of residency, because you are applying by the end of the second year. So you have only 1 year to prepare whole fellowship profile, where you require a tremendous amount of research experience as well. So in that case, you are competing with the university hospital residents, and university hospital residents are very prepared from a day one, because they have all latest infrastructure to do research. From a day one, they will be pushing you for quality improvement studies and writing reviews, and every week there will be journal club dedicated to that. Also community program is having it, but university is having at a larger scale, right? As I mentioned, they are having all this money and resources and stuff. So for fellowship match, if you are competing outside, research is the only thing which is going to save. So if you are requiring research to enter into residency, that's great, but ultimately you are going to require it at the end of your fellowship level, because without that you cannot complete residency, you cannot enter in fellowship. And in order to pursue your career from hospitalist to assistant professor to associate professor, every stage research plays crucial role, extremely crucial role. So having research education and learning that publication process, two things are different. If you are having research education, doesn't mean you will be able to publish successfully. It's very competitive to publish in a good journal, right? So it's very competitive to do that. In that case, if you know the publication process before, in that case it will be helping you. Once your mentors are very busy, they don't have time to write cover letter, title page, these that study research protocol, that time you are going to write everything, and you will be saving those time and duration. So that is why research is very crucial, and it was crucial, it is crucial right now. And after step one will be scrap out the score, there will be more need of research. And now how we can help, basically research update can help you to do that. And at what level? If you are doing medical school right now, second year and third year is the best time, according to me, to pursue the research career, because in that time you have tremendous extra time, and we call it golden years. You remember, if you know that. So in that time you can learn the thing, you can do the hands-on project, you learn the process, so that whenever it's required, once you finish your exam, again you can jump back to the publication thing. What is the problem? Once you finish your all step and then you're applying for match, that time is very narrow window of 4 to 5 months. Okay, but the problem is in 4 to 5 months you can complete a project, but can you successfully publish in a good journal like Springer, Nature, Elsevier, and those standard journal? No, it will take 7 to 8 months for you to publish in that journal. And when you submit in the conferences, it will again taking more than 6 months. So if you are learning and doing this earlier, by the time you are hitting to your application September 15 or October 15 of every year, by that time the publications are out. Otherwise you have to put it in submitted category, accepted category, and so on. There are many categories. So what we are doing it, we are just simply breaking up the research process and creating a very effective way that you can follow so that you can not only learn education but also implement on a real-time hands-on project. Real-time hands-on project where we are having the data from nation, from CDC, from all other hospitals, and then we are going to quickly show you how to do that in a short period of time, and you will be doing with the resident fellow and faculty, and you are publishing that thing so that it will be helpful not only for learning point of view but also for the publication point of view. If you don't publish, it will perish. So the most important thing, understand the time sensitivity, by what time you have to publish your thing. So that is something, the another feature that we are providing you to publish and complete your goal in a timely manner. And we tailor the training depend on your education experience. If you are going for basic clinical research or advanced clinical research, we tailor that training for you so that it will be publication process will be easy for you. Most important thing, you people, some of you are having ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research grant too, right? So we help you to translate the ideas and thoughts into the viable project which can publish later on. And our team of instructor, residents, attending, and everyone will overall help you to groom your profile and also help you with the clinical research education and publication. And that journey will be very interesting. If you think about research is very boring, no. You may ask to the student who's working with us, they enjoy their 2 hour or 3 hour of weekly sessions when they are working with us, and then later on they're working by themselves. Usually research update provide three different type of course. Number one is clinical research training program. That's a 6 month of certificate and hands-on session, where you will be focusing on education, analytical skill, hands-on projects, and how to implement this research in a CV and interview point of view. And then ultimately, you're going to get the certification. Me and my team, whole team is having MPH or MSCR besides MD. So we know how much costly it is and what are the important aspects that you require as a physician. So we grab those aspects, we merge it in the course, and then we prepare this course so that not everyone who can't afford that thing, they can do this course and then have basic understanding of the thing. So it's a weekend 6 month of course, and we guide you for everything. And usually the studies involved, they are observational studies, systematic review, meta-analysis, and literature review. Once you finish the project, you are submitting, depend on your specialties. We are having internal medicine batches like cardiology, pulmonary, critical care, hemato-oncology, and if I'm not wrong, then in internal medicine, the one more is dedicated on what you call hemat path. So it's a combining branch. So one of the faculty member is also teaching that one. But beside internal medicine, we have neurology, pediatric, psychiatry, and all this thing. So you are going to the conferences depend on your specialty of application, and then you are publishing your work into the journals like Springer, Nature, Elsevier, MDPI, BMJ, Curious, and all those things. We help you to learn the process of presentation and publication. The batches are very small. Of the education batch is big, but then hands-on session, which are your dedicated topics, that is very small. There will be around 7 students, 2 residents and fellow, and 2 faculty members. And then we also help to make sure how you can tailor according to the residency and fellowship application. Some people right now with us, they are in cardiology batch rather than internal medicine batch because they are having good score and they know they are going to match in medicine. So they want to prepare their fellowship profile from a day one. So those type of people are there too. And then we are having annual research day, and then by the time you finish your 6 month weekend course, you are expecting approximately 3 observational study publication, 3 peer review national conference presentations, and 1 literature review. And then later on, as many as you can do. We are having our own journal, Research Update Journal of Medicine. We will help you to publish everything else in case report and literature reviews there. Similarly, one is clinical research mentor mentee program. It's the same clinical research training program, but we also provide you specialty specific US attending. So you will be working with one attending one-on-one. So once you are having your own literature reviews, your case reports, meta-analysis, attendings are having their QI study, you can collaborate with each other. So you are going to not only get the research education, but those faculty member will help you to design and execute your overall project, and that will provide you long-term mentorship. Because research and rotation, it's a huge difference. Rotation, once you go there 15 days, 1 month, and you are out, then you are not in a contact with attending again. Here in research, the project itself take 2 to 3 months to complete. You're going in presentation form, conferences, journals. So it's a long term, 6 months to 1 year of minimum commitment, or relationship, I can say that. Not a huge hourly commitment, but a relationship. And that relationship will invest you for your residency help. So those physicians can also provide you letter of recommendation based on your performance and your research skill. And this is a short course. The people who's having like extremely good score, they are having 1 or 2 months only before application. Most of the student also join clinical research fast track course, so that they don't have like October and November, as I mentioned, they have like 4 months of duration before they apply. Only 4 months. So in 4 months you cannot complete the thing. So that's why they are doing this course too. And that course is a very quick course of 2 months. 2 hour per week sessions are there. Only one project we give it, but we teach them publication process, and then we give them one project, and we make sure it will publish as soon as possible, so that you can write it in your CV. So that is having again the same number of students in the batch. And the only the difference is the project numbers. One observational study, or one original study, I can say, and one literature review we provide them. And the detail is with Ms. Aswini, so she can share with you the more detail about our clinical research training program and hands-on experience. And she will also provide you the coupon. We are having special code with Miss Ashwini and Go Campus. So they will provide you the code. If then you will get the more discount on this certain price. So that is all about research education. And I again thank you for your everyone's time. If you have any question, we can take the question from here. Hello. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Hello, doctor.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's a doctor who's asking, does the research work in India appreciated in US? I guess they've done a research work here. They're asking, is it considered in US?
Yes, all research, whatever you're doing in India or any part of the country, is called research. Okay. So if it is presented in a peer review conference, peer review means the where your judges are there, they are grading your papers, they're not accepting anything and everything. Those presentation will work. You are doing ICMR project, those are very good projects that you can do it. It work, definitely work. If it is publishable, it is useful.
Same thing. Will CRMM help graduates? Is the next question.
So clinical research mentor-mentee program is designed specifically for medical school and international medical school students and international medical graduates. So those people, all those students are paired up with the faculty member here in United States. We all learn our research and education and publication part. But besides that if someone is having some particular question, they can directly contact to the faculty member. And if you are having your project, let's say you are having your own observational study, QI study, these and that. I have seen many Indian graduates before they join my course, they are having like 4 or 5 publication ready, but they don't know how to publish that thing. Right away, they will join our course. Beside what publication we are providing them, they publish with the help of attending. They have a pair up with the resident. So once you are adding the residence fellow faculty member in your project, the value of the project will increase automatically, right? So that's why the clinical research mentor mentee program is very effective and powerful tool. And in fact, currently, once you become resident, still you will be in one more CRMM course, which is provided by American Medical Association, American Heart Association. So it will help you to complete your residency. Once you finish your residency, there will be another Hospital will provide you a mentor-mentee program so that it will guide you whether you are good in clinical practice, whether you are good in hospitalist clinical medicine or academic clinical medicine, or you are good in the private practice. So mentor-mentee programs have many versions, but our mentor-mentee program is only designed for international medical graduates and medical students.
Okay, there's another question by Dr. Deepak. It says, in the CRTP, will my name be included as a co-author in the published research?
Yes. So if your name is not there, then what is the meaning of wasting, I can say, 6 months of experience? That thing is in US, even though you have a little bit of contribution according to ICGME, if you follow their guideline, if you have little bit of contribution, still your name must be there in those publication as a co-author. And that's the sole purpose, right? Your name is in the publication, then you are going to present, then we can market your CV in the conferences. You will be making Google Scholar account and LinkedIn account, and you're constantly bombarding with this research on your account so that programs and their faculty member notice you, right? So the only purpose for publication is networking. So your name should be there and must be there in order to publish your profile, market your profile, I can say, to be precise.
The next question is, I'm currently preparing for step one. I will be taking step one in around September. Will I be having time to do the research course and compete in 2022 matching?
2022 match, yes, you are having enough time. Ideally, I believe that if you are having 6 to 9 months of time, it is good to not only finish the projects and publish it, but if you are having, let's say, 6 months of time, even 4 to 6 months of time, you can complete the project. Not all project will publish. It will go in a submitted category, accepted category, accepted with major correction, in press category. There are total 6 categories. So your project will fall any of these categories. So you don't have to worry about, but at least 6 to 8 months is required in order to make a good research profile. If I talk about MPH, then there people make their profile over the period of 2 and 2.5 years. So you can imagine that you are competing. You're not competing, I can say, because MPH people have their whole different goal. But still, if you want to have a strong research profile, one is research profile, doing case report and literature reviews. According to me, it's not research. Case report and literature review can be going in the publication section, but it will not help you to do your observational study. So it is not a clinical research. So if you are interested in that clinical research, then you require enough time. Otherwise, case report will take 2 days to complete, and literature review, you can write it over weekend, right? So it is good to have multiple publication in form of case report and literature review, but at least few observational studies are crucial. And if you guys in first year of medical school, go and target ICMR. ICMR was there when I did medical school, and even right now they are even more active. So get benefit of ICMR funding. It's a similar funding, we call it here in US PDF, Personalized Development Fund, and their government is giving you this small amount of fund to plan your study. So utilize that fund.
The next question is, do we have to go to US for research program?
Um, for this research program which we are providing, we are having students from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Saudi, and few students are from Africa, and those approximately between 10 to 12 countries. They are not coming to United States. Wherever they are doing the research from home, and their title designation, we give it them remote research assistant. And this course is distance learning program, right? The only thing which we are doing for you is data usage agreement, because you are going to use the data, let's say of CDC or any of the agencies. You don't have to break the rule. You must not break the rules of publication. So we do data usage agreement on behalf of you guys. So you will be doing completely from there. But the outcome of this course is what? Outcome, you will be doing this course, you will be either matching in residency or you will not match. If you will not match, then we will help you to get visa and then J1 research into this all these faculties programs, we are having many institutes on board. They are requiring long-term research fellowship, 6 months to 1 year, there you are only spending time in collecting the data. But we have collected the data for you guys so that you don't have to waste your timing of 6 to 8 months just to collect data. So from a day one, you will be publishing the work rather than spending your time, or I can say wasting your time in data collection. So you don't have to come to the United States. But if, let's say, you are presenting your work, then we request AHA, AAN, ANA, this conference chair people to give you a letter so that you can come and visit US and then present your work.
There's Dr. Shalini asking how many research papers do we have to publish to get into surgery program in the US?
Um, so usually, if I talk about surgery program, this is the first time we have started our surgery batch. Mainly, surgery require tremendous amount of networking, not only research publication. Okay, so if the step one system is there, you require very high amount of score, huge score, and then you require rotation, make contact there, learn research, publish with them. There is no fixed number. There is no fixed number. What we believe that if you have education and if you have, like, say, 7 8 publication by yourself, if you don't match next year, replicate the same method which you learn with us, get another 7. Next year, if you don't match, again 7. Keep doing it in a year. In a year, let's say our team can do it like 30 40 publication or projects. Then if you are having a small group of like 10 people, the sky is the limit. You can publish as many projects as you can if you are having education and experience. And you can, even though you are not in US, as I mentioned, you can plan similar studies wherever you are working. Wherever you are working, we have some of the physicians, international medical graduate. Once they didn't match last year, they went back and they joined the big hospitals in India, and they got the data from electronic health record of those hospitals, because big data in India is also having data, and they are publishing the work there, and they are still submitting their paper in American Medical Association and American Heart Association. Okay, and winning the awards too. So there is no fixed number, but anything between 8 to 11, 8 to 10 is competitive. You don't have to go all the way up and waste your time. You don't have to go below that thing. On average, the amount is a decent number of amount, and that's how we prepare our course, so that we can match the above, little bit above national average of American medical graduates too.
Next question is one clinical research program for 6 months enough for the CV?
uh, Research program is enough for the CV? Answer is no. MPH is enough for the CV? Answer is no. MSc or PhD is enough for the CV? Answer is no. What is important? Networking. So if that networking is done by just one publication, 2 year of experience, same one project, you're doing it over the period of 2 years, you're finishing that project, and the mentor is suggesting you to the chairman of the program and say that, okay, he's a good guy and he should be matching here, even though he's having 2 or 3 attempts, you will match. So why we are doing research? Because you are ultimately getting network. You're going in the conference, you're meeting to our team members. We are having resident fellow faculties, including some of the PDs and associate PDs. But with them, if you are working, then only they will help. So if, let's say, you are contacting me and you are telling that, can you please put my CV in the program and say that this person is good, then how can I help until and unless I have not worked with you for a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months? So longer you work, the mentor mentee bonding will increase. And then if you have 10 attempts, still if you have research background, then I can sell your CV in the program by telling that, look, it happened, one day was bad and he or she failed. That doesn't mean that you can judge on that one day the whole character, right? Then he or she improve by doing multiple rotation or multiple publication work. So you should consider the application at least, and then application will speak on behalf of you once the CV was on desk. But the problem is that 80% case your CV, if it's less than 220, 230, it didn't reach to the director's desk at all, because computer filters will filter the attempts, visa not require with attempt, and those things. They are having very cream layer candidate who's having about 230 in a first shot. So that's why research is important. Not the course is important. The itself is a skill. Research skill is important.
So the next one, is it necessary that the research is related to the specialty I'm applying for?
It is not necessary. I started the research with the epidemiology, then jumped to clinical trials, and then jumped to neurology and neuroepidemiology. So it's not necessary. Research skill is important, but why we prefer that thing? Because when you are dealing with us, then you are asking something in return. And if you are a pathology candidate and you are doing pathology research, then we can send you in American Canadian cytopathology conference, or clinical pathology conference. So, and that research, if you are bringing it to there, then only you are going to meet program directors in those conferences. So if you are applying in internal medicine, we send you in Society of General Internal Medicine and American Medical Association conference. If you are applying in neurology, we send you in American Academy of Neurology or American Neurology Association. So every specialty has their own conferences. So the only important thing is that if you go there virtually or physically, then you market your research, right? That's why we prefer specialty specific research when you are dealing completely your profile with us and you are completely relying on us.
Okay, Dr. Pavitra is getting upset that we are not asking her question. Doctor, there are hundreds of questions. So I'm not asking Doctor the repetitive questions. I'm picking unique questions and throwing it at Dr. Urvish Patel. But anyways, Dr. Pavitra's question is only ICMR research enough? And other doctors, if I'm not picking your question, please do not feel bad, because whatever he's covering, I'm not asking the repetitive question. Is only
Yeah, and
ICMR
even
research enough?
after the session will finish, you can send all the questions to Miss Aswini, and then whenever I get chance, I'll just quickly type and then send her back. So that's okay. Only ICMR research is enough? No, as I mentioned that ICMR is giving you a little bit of fund, so you can play around, you can understand what is the research. It will basically increase the craving or curiosity of research in you. That's the only reason why ICMR is encouraging the thing, right? So only ICMR research is enough? Answer is, again, research itself is enough. Whether you are doing ICMR, whether your assistant professor in your hospital is doing some research and you are a part of that research, or you are publishing some literature review and systematic review with your mentor in your hospital, that is also work. Everything will work. The only difference between research you are doing with US faculty or outside US faculty is this: the publication section you are going to add every research. Whether some people have MD from India and they're coming to US and doing again second time MD, those all publication presentation is considered. It will go in a publication category. But the project which you did with the US faculty, that will help again in networking, and that contact matters. That is what I'm emphasizing more.
So Dr. Sharanya is asking, will the virtual nature of our attendance in these conferences pose an issue with networking, which is the main thing, as you said?
You would glad to know that just after half an hour we are having another conference, API conference, Associations of American Physician of Indian Origin. Since last 2 years, 6 7 conference I have attended. Virtual conferences are better than in-person conferences. Why? Because in conference, let's say you're having list of 5 program director and you're finding everywhere in a whole auditorium, and you are not finding anyone. In virtual, there is a section where you will be dealing with the program director and chair session. They will be in front of you and they don't have anything to go, they cannot escape. So you are like indirectly bound with them, whether they like you or they don't like you. So it will be like this much of connected experience. So last year also, the students, because of COVID, has presented in American Academy of Family Medicine, American Psychiatry Association, and those association, they did it. They attended chairman's and PD session, and they have nothing else to do because you are like one-to-one on a Zoom meeting. So they cannot escape like in person. Either they may not meet you, or they will be, yeah, okay, that is good, and they will leave the place. So virtual is the best form according to me, which I feel. But still it varies from people to people. So some of the publication you cannot, clinical trial related publication, you cannot get good podium in virtual conferences. But still, for you guys, virtual is the best thing.
Doctor, I understand you're on another session, but quickly, just last two questions I'm just putting across because they're a little new. So it's saying, Dr. Priyank is asking, I'm working as medical officer in government organization.
Mhm.
So can I go for USMLE and this research because I think I'm too late to do this? I guess he's already completed his MBBS. So is asking, is it too late to start with this?
Nothing is too late to start according to me, because my mentors started their clinical practice at the age of 37, 38 in US. So what does it mean? And my student currently, some of the students are having already MDs, and they practice 10 to 15 years in US and in Saudi, and then they are moving here. So nothing is too late to start. I feel in a monetary point of view, if you are practicing out of the record, okay, if you're practicing 10 year in United States, then you are earning enough number of money or enough property that you can live successful retirement after finishing your 10 year of practice. So what you require is just 10 year of practice. So whether you do that 10 year of practice between 35 to 45, 40 to 50, or 50 to 60, you are not late. The oldest graduate which I have ever dealt with was had the year of graduation of 2000, last to last year, 2000. So like literally 20-year-old graduate. So he was applying in psychiatry, and then he had decent practice in the home country, and then now he got green card, and then the family moved here. So people are doing it. So I don't think so the age is a factor. You just require 10 years of practice in United States. That's it.
So I guess there are a lot of questions on the costing and how do we join, when do we join? So I think the
That
batch time, Dr. Ubrish will tell. Yeah, doctor, they're asking when should we join or how will it start?
So every year we are doing this clinical research training program two times. One is in January 15, so batches start in February, and one is after the match result declare in April 15. So whatever year you are applying, either you join the same year of January or same year of April. I recommend you to join January batch because then you will be having 9 months to publish your work. But still, if let's say you applied this year and you don't match, most welcome. Join us on April batch. But usually, the mostly I've seen people are joining the same year, January, or same year of thing. But that's what I want to change, and that's why I'm here. That you can imagine, right? How much narrow window is that if you join the course in April, the course will finish in October, and then publication is going on in a monthly basis, but still you cannot complete the all publication by September. So according to me, as early you start, it is better for your point of view, clinical research training program especially. But if you're planning to join mentor mentee program, or let's say you are very late at, then you can join fast track program in a year of your application probably.
Okay. And this for all the doctors who've been asking on the costing and the application process. We will be talking to you one on one because each program has a different costing. So request you to, we will display a form now. Request you to please fill up the form. Whichever doctor is interested to get one-on-one call and to discuss on the mentor mentee or the CRTP plans, request you to please fill up the forms. We will reach out to you on Monday, one on one. The counselor will give you a call and will discuss with you in detail about what should you choose to make sure that you're investing your time in a right way. So I guess you can see the chat box now. The application link is there. So it says if you're interested in USMLE coaching, clinical research, clinical experience, please fill up the form. So open up the form, and if it is clinical research, please select clinical research and submit the form. Monday before 12, you will have a call from our side. All right. And understanding Dr. Urvesh has got an immediate next conference, so I guess we should leave him for now. And as he said, whatever questions you have in regard to clinical research, please reach out to us on Monday. We will take it to Dr. Urvesh and the answers will be given to you. Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time. Even in your busy schedule, you took out some time and you kind of came in for this to address the doctors. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend, guys. Bye.
Sure. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you to all the doctors for taking time to attend this session today. We once, so I guess we are also putting up our landline number now in the chat box. You can certainly reach out to us on the landline number, or you can fill up the form. I guess you also have Mr. Vipin, the program in charge number, who's reached out to you post your webinar registration. You can also see the email ID now. We will certainly reach out to you on Monday, but if there is a delay from our side, please do not hesitate to contact us. And I guess we've not answered many Q&As. Do not worry, we will talk about it on Monday. So Vipin's number is also being displayed in the chat box. You can also visit our website. The web link will also be put across in the chat box now. That is www.gocampususa.com. I saw a lot of Q&As on PLAB and US, that is on UK Pathway and USMLE. It will be very difficult to address that comparison in a public forum like this because there are many doctors who have attended this session to know more on USMLE but not on UK. So doctors who are wanting to know about both the pathways and then decide, please contact us on Monday. You can reach out to Vipin. We will be more than glad to talk to you one-on-one to address all your concerns in regard to the postgraduate options. Okay? Thank you. I hope the session was useful and you did learn about few things which you didn't know before. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.